What's going on, guys? I hope you're doing well. Today, we have a very special guest. This is a brand new episode of Vaughn Coleman Presents. This is the 11th episode. And today, we have a new kind of guest, actually. We have a stand-up comedian. And so, without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and bring him on. Please welcome Josh Shakespeare. Josh, how you doing, man?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, everybody. How you guys doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. I'm glad. I know I had to keep switching the schedule around, but I'm glad it finally worked out. So you've got. Did you just launch a podcast? Did I see that correctly?
Yeah, I did officially. Everyone, for maybe like 3 years now, everyone thinks that I had one for some reason, and that's just because like I have a very good production quality on my reaction videos where I'll just react to mentally ill people on TikTok, and I'll use it with my microphone and my Zoom, and because it sounds like a podcast, people think that I have a podcast. I'm like, guys, I don't have a podcast yet. But it just kept getting repeated to the point where I was just like, all right, you know what, let's just start one.
Yeah, right.
And then let's just see where it goes. Yeah. So I just dropped the third episode yesterday. So
despite I didn't end up live streaming to TikTok. Maybe I will, but I mean, I've been banned on there for like I don't even know what I did, but like, do you think that they're gonna ban it? I haven't been following the news because I give so little of a shit about TikTok. Even though I have it. It's a great source of content, though. I feel like a lot of content is just people reacting to the insanity that's on TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely. China was very, very successful. They made a very good weapon there. So, you got to give credit where credit is due. It's a bit of a gray area because they could ban it and then they couldn't. But in whatever case, if they do ban it, I will be sad to see it go because I mean that's like softcore Pornhub there. I genuinely believe that they could use TikTok to as like a decoy website to track pedophiles, but they should ban it. It is spyware. I have a TikTok and I used it for content for a little bit, but then I realized it's like pennies on the dollar as far as support and fans and stuff. Like it's so easy to go viral on TikTok, but like none of the people, you don't really get like a fan base from there. Like every now and then you will, but
you go viral. I know because I have like over 1,000. Like I put way more effort into YouTube than say TikTok. And some of my TikToks that I put a lot of effort into would get like maybe a few. And then there were some that would like I would literally just be sitting there just like reacting and doing like shaking my head or something. Thousands of likes. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Do you notice the trend where like they'll put Subway Surfer footage or like iPhone games under? So they'll put like a scene from a show or something, and then like iPhone game footage to stimulate people because
I've seen that before. Specifically there was a stand-up clip. It was just a regular stand-up clip, and it was a guy talking about how he's like Israeli, he's from the Middle East, and his second language was English. English was not his first language, and he didn't understand this new wave of using pronouns and how it confused him. And they had that, and then right next to it, side by side, was just someone making soap. And I watched like the whole thing like I was expecting it to tie in. And that was it. And I was like, have we really gotten to that point now in this country where they're like, hey, look at this? Also, but to keep the attention span, like, is the next Avengers movie just going to be like somebody showing you how to make a shed?
Yeah.
And then them fighting like Kang or something like that. It was just ridiculous. So, our attention span is very short.
Yeah, that's so that is one of the good things about possibly the thing is it's easy to pull in an audience, but even I've had people who have TikTok say that they'll have YouTube, I've had people with like tons, like thousands of followers on TikTok, and I look at their YouTube and it's like only 100 or so subscribers, and I'm like, because people they use that app and they don't follow it. I'm different. I don't know, like I'll go to people's stuff if I like what they are doing and I'll follow them on other, I don't know, but a lot of people don't do that.
I was talking to a friend of mine recently about this too, where he was like, 1,000 subscribers. No. 1,000 views on a YouTube video, it feels so much different than 1,000 views on a TikTok video. It was like the value just kind of like changes depending on what app. Like if you get 1,000, let's say you get 2,000 views on like a YouTube video you put out, that feels so much better and much more rewarding than a TikTok video that gets over 2,000 views and shit, because it doesn't really matter. So like I would actually love a viral YouTube video more than I would like a viral TikTok video any day of the week.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. Which is why I put a lot more effort here. And now sometimes I'll upload clips to TikTok. I don't really care how many. I mean, when I say I don't care, obviously I'd prefer, more views. When people say they don't care, it's not like they're like, oh no, I got success. It's like, I would like 1,000 views, but if it doesn't happen, it's like, oh, well, I didn't do well on TikTok. You know what I mean? It's not really about that. But so you don't really use TikTok a lot, but I know you have your other socials. I made sure to add your link tree and stuff. You've got a podcast now. Now, what kind of stuff do you do in your podcast? Also, is there a sound here or is it fine? Is there?
I don't hear a sound.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Okay. So I launched a podcast, about 4 Mondays ago. And it is, we're so far the format, and it could evolve into something different. I do 10 to 15 minute segments, 3 segments, where one, I just talk about what's going on in my personal life in the first segment. And then the second segment, I react to something that I've seen on social media, like a video. And now I'm going to start doing incorporating debates I get on social media, because like I get anything that just motivates me and gets me worked up to like really go on a very long, argumentative and hopefully funny, pointed view. We'll do that for the second segment. And then the third segment would be less political, but more so just social, what's going on. Like recently I talked about, and you and I connected on this the first time I think we met.
Yeah.
Which was the newest, the next Bond movie. So that was what I talked about in my most recent podcast. It's the last one. Yeah. And every day more news keeps coming out, like, oh, they're gonna get Caitlyn Jenner to be the new M, and I'm like, okay, maybe let's go in another direction. So it's just like that.
So I know your thoughts because we talked about it at length. But for those that don't know, real quick, what were your thoughts on the newest James Bond?
Oh, it was horrible garbage. I mean, the more my thoughts and my opinions, my feelings have changed here and there. I still stand by the ending was horrible. Mm-hmm. The first half of the movie was fantastic, but then like you can pinpoint exactly when it starts to go to hell, where just, and I don't want to do the spoiler thing, but like there's a certain part in this movie, right? You know what? Scratch that. So no spoilers. Right after Cuba, after the
that's the best part of the
ends,
movie, by the way.
That's
the mission in Cuba.
Everything right up until then, and then the whole movie just is absolute dog shit right after that. It was like very unnecessary. You can almost tell exactly when Phoebe Waller-Bridge came in and wrote some parts in the movie, and I'm like, all right, this is where it sucks. And then I just cut your losses. Go with Mission Impossible.
I liked the last one a lot. It was weird. I think the last one. I mean, I've seen 1, 5, and 6. It was that, which is a weird. I liked the 6th one the most, though. I loved the 6th one.
Dude, it's such a... All right, so this is so fascinating because I've never seen the first 3 Mission Impossibles. I've seen Ghost Protocol because
that was 4, right?
That was like I think the 4th one. Yeah, that had to have been the 4th. Yeah, that was the 4th one. I recommend everyone go watch it. But before you watch Ghost Protocol, if you haven't seen Ghost Protocol, I recommend you watch the trailer first, because I vividly remember where I was, what year it was, and what I was doing when I first saw that trailer, which is what motivated me to go watch just that movie of Mission Impossible. It's I was in like Hartford, Connecticut. I was in the laundromat, and it just came on the television, and then I heard Eminem and the song they used, and I was like, all right, I'm hooked. Let's go watch the movie. And then I watched Ghost Protocol, and then Rogue Nation, and then Fallout, which was like the last 3. So which were phenomenal movies. So, and then, fantastic. It just seems like it just keeps getting better and better, and he does his own stunts and shit. And then it was only up until I saw GoldenEye recently that I realized that the stunt he did for the most recent one coming out was inspired by that movie. I didn't even know.
Wait, which part was that? I'm trying, because I haven't seen GoldenEye. God, probably like that was my favorite James Bond. That and Man with the Golden Gun were my 2 favorites going out.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, that GoldenEye and Man with the Golden Gun were probably but I haven't seen them in like over 10 years, probably, honestly. What was
So in
the
the
stunt that was pulled
so in the
from
beginning of
Goldeneye?
GoldenEye, and I didn't, and it's so crazy because I just started going back and watching not all of them, but like various Bond movies from each era, whatever. But and by the way, I may have to switch out my headphones at some point because apparently they just decided to go to 10%. But we'll get to that bridge later. But
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
the stunt in GoldenEye is when the plane is going off the cliff, and then Pierce Bronson drives a motorcycle off the cliff and dives
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
to the plane. I had no idea until I saw the trailer for Dead Reckoning. I was like, oh, that's just like when but instead he did it for real. So I was like,
Is
oh
Dead
shit.
Reckoning the new one coming out?
Yes. And
I
that's when
actually,
Tom Cruise takes the bite. Oh, you haven't seen the trailer or like
I
the
actually haven't. I've been. It's weird. I've been kind of just like I used to be one of those people that watches like every trailer excessively,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
like over and
same.
over again, like hyper analyzing it. And I kind of just haven't been lately.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. There's not really an inclination to go watch movies anymore, I've noticed, because it's oversaturated in every which direction. And also the writing and the direction is bad and nothing really stands out anymore. There's
mm,
also that superhero fatigue.
yeah,
However, I recommend you go watch Dead Reckoning, the trailer right now
yeah.
or
I
after
just
this
pulled it up.
podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull.
It's
I'm gonna watch it.
fucking phenomenal. And then but the difference with this one is that in this one, Tom Cruise, there's no like, as far as I know, they may have maybe CGI'd it out, but there's no plane that he's chasing. He's just driving the motorcycle off the cliff and then just jumping from the motorcycle. And then I'm assuming he has a parachute, obviously, but so he does the same exact thing. So I was like, oh, that's dope.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll have to absolutely check that out because I did really like that. I love Top Gun Maverick. You saw that, I assume?
I have not seen Top Gun 1 or the Maverick, but I don't need to know. I don't even need to watch it to know that it's just a good film, just because yeah, I
It's
was
worth
never
a
really into
watch.
that.
You know what's crazy is I actually watched the first one for the first time only a couple days before. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was like amazing. It's pretty cheesy.
Same exact reaction to the first one when it
Oh, you
came
did
out,
see the first
from what
one?
I've heard.
Oh yeah. But the second one, I think, and a lot of people, some people don't feel this way. I think the second one is far superior as a film, which is very rare, right? Well, very
From what
rare
I've seen.
for a movie that came out 40 or so years later to be like better than the original.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I felt. I thought it was really solid.
Yeah, and speaking of which, like there seems to be. I'm also a bit, because they talk about superhero fatigue. I'm also in a fatigue of nostalgia.
Me too.
I'm fatigued of nostalgia because I just saw last night, because I didn't even know this existed. There was like a Power Rangers episode apparently where every single Power Ranger from like every generation all came together to fight this army,
Oh
and
wow.
it was every single, literally all of them. I didn't even know that they had this many Power Rangers, but they were all in like a field, the most recent one. And then like, this was like 3 years ago, it was like Lightspeed Rescue and Mighty Morphin. Oh, they're here. And oh my God, Alien Force or whatever the hell. And it was just all of them doing the little battle poses. I was like, I've had enough. Can we just stop? Can we just make something new? Even if
Mm,
it's like, oh my God, the old
yeah.
people are back. Can we just do something new now? Like,
Mhm.
it was just, but from what I've seen, even though I haven't seen the movies, everyone is just like, oh, this is just as good, if not better than the first one, despite bringing
Yeah.
Tom Cruise back and shit. So,
Yeah, I mean, I understand, and to me, I don't even because look, I'm a huge comic book nerd and whatever, but I don't even know if it's as much superhero fatigue as a mediocre movie fatigue. I mean, I wasn't crazy about I don't know, some of the stuff I wasn't crazy about some of the movies coming up, and then also these people like a lot of the press stuff when they're like hyping up these movies and they're like this movie, like when they started saying with the new James Bond, for example, yeah, they're gonna shut James Bond down, or like they're gonna put him in his place. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna really get James Bond fans on board with this. Like,
yeah,
what?
yeah, I've said it before time and time again, and it's just like they don't seem to understand the audience or the people that enjoy the types of movies, or why they enjoy the movies in the first place, which is why the marketing team doesn't really seem to, every time before the movie came out, they were like, oh, we're going to get a feminist writer to help the script, and it's just it always boggled my mind where before like every Bond movie they keep having a is he going to be a misogynist conversation, and it's like you realize his job is that he kills men for money, right? Like but even if he, let's say he was a misogynist, let's say his job is that he literally murders men for money though, like that's his job. So I don't understand, like, so because he slaps a woman every now and then to get information, which is what a spy would do.
Yeah.
It's
like that's not, it's like it's not, if you're not a fan of that, you're probably like that kind of character, because you don't necessarily, have to be a fan of like hookup culture, right, to like James Bond. You don't. You just it's almost like people can like characters that are different. And it's also, if you are like vehemently opposed to all these traits that are like huge for James Bond, you probably don't like James Bond.
Yeah,
so it's okay. Absolutely. Just create a new spy. But it's like, like there are new IPs that can be like John Wick. I think was one of the best new. I haven't seen the fourth one yet, but like one of the best new franchises to come out, because it was something. It was like it reminded us of old school action movies, but it has its own identity and its own world and its own tone.
Absolutely, yeah.
Rip Lance Reddick, but like that franchise, it was like it felt like something fresh. Right.
Absolutely. And, it was a breath of fresh air in every which direction, as far as the action, the way it was choreographed, and like longer takes, because that's something I have more of an affinity for. Like you saw it, I'm not sure if you saw Daredevil, like the TV show, right? But like the long formed, not cut to death action scenes, they had their value for the Jason Bourne era of action movies at its time, because they wanted you to make it feel like it's more visceral and that you're in the fight too.
Like more panicking. Yeah.
Exactly. But at the same time, when you see like a long formed, actual, like choreographed and organic fight scene, that was what John Wick did perfectly. And then on top of that, because I was actually rewatching the clips to the first John Wick movie, and I loved, you don't see this that often, but I love when the villain is afraid of the hero.
Yes.
Like that's something that you don't normally see, because as dangerous and as murderous as the villain was, he was like, fuck, I got to fight. Oh shit. This is going to be rough. That's something you don't. And then it sucks because now that you see these types of movies, all you want to do is compare it to the Bond one. You like it's as a Bond fan, you're like, fuck. Yeah. Why can't we have this?
But then it shows, like you can create just this new stuff that works. And I totally I totally agree with you, and I'm a big fan of long takes and like Daredevil. So I'm a huge I got Daredevil comics here and whatever, like the ones that inspired the show. But even like I'm also just the Daredevil show. That's the thing. The Daredevil show is like pulled from specifically this guy Frank Miller's run, right?
Frank Miller is so good, man. Such a good, especially with the all black with the sweatsuit outfit. Basically. Yeah.
We're going to go through that. I'm trying to figure out when, but I know I'm going to get some people together and go through Frank Miller's entire run on the character, because it's just so instrumental. But like, if they just pulled from stuff like that, I think they'd be killing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. They pulled a little bit more from, like Casino Royale, like the movie was based on the novel. Not a lot of people know. And I'm like, if you maybe pulled more from the novels, like the source material, you might actually get a good, oh wait, no, hold on. Sorry, I just thought I saw something. But yeah, if they pulled more from the novel, everything would be, I think, fantastic. And I was wondering, like, what you thought about that. Have you heard the new news about like sort of the recastings for the new Daredevil Born Again series? Because it's going to be a lot of the same people, but then they just announced they recasted Wilson Fisk's wife, Vanessa.
Yeah, they haven't announced Karen Page and Foggy, right?
No, but I would hope that they would keep the same. I mean, you can't just like replicate or recreate that type of chemistry with the same people. Like,
it's just what's weird to me, right? Is because I've been listening to I'm kind of tuned out of the MCU despite having a huge comic collection, whatever. But it's like, every time they announce something for Daredevil Born Again, because like, have you read the Daredevil Born Again story, Frank Miller?
No.
Okay, so in that story, that is the most iconic, I think, Daredevil story, right? And so in that, it's like nothing they've announced even sounds remotely close to Daredevil Born Again. Like nothing they've announced at all. Like they keep announcing these characters. Like, look, I love the Punisher literally has nothing to do with the Daredevil Born Again story. They have White Tiger, nothing to do with Daredevil Born Again. Like all these characters they keep announcing have literally nothing to do with it. And I'm like, are they just using the title and then not?
That's interesting. I had absolutely no idea because I didn't even read the.
Yeah,
I'm one of those people where like I saw the show first and then
yeah,
I looked for the comics to see like what reference. Like I didn't know
yeah,
that when the Punisher chained
yeah,
Daredevil to like to the chimney, I didn't know that that was actually in the comics, and I was like, oh
yeah,
shit, like that's only reinvigorated. So I had no
yeah,
idea that this
yeah,
is wow. Okay,
yeah. That was weird.
that's
I
interesting.
also, yeah, they they don't have faith in source and hero. That's usually the problem. I kind of agree. I kind of it's weird. It's a weird balance because it's like on one hand, it's like they don't have enough faith in new ideas to just straight up make new ideas, but on the other hand, they don't have enough faith in the source and hero to straight up keep. It's like a really weird balance where nobody wins almost. You know what I mean? It's like for example, James Bond. It's like they don't have enough faith to make it its own character with whatever they want to put in it, but they also don't have enough faith in James Bond to not just do that. So it's this
Yeah,
really weird kind of like balance in entertainment lately. But I
yeah.
try and look forward to what I look forward to. So I do want to ask because and we can get back to talking all this stuff. But so for those who don't know, so Josh is a stand-up comedian. So Josh, how did you get your start, and what made you want to be a comedian?
Let's see. I wanted to be a comedian when I saw a lot of people. No, when I saw a couple of people back in middle school being like basically the class clown, and I saw like the types of joy that they were cultivating, and the shit that they could get away with, and types of friends and that they were making, and I was like, oh, that seems like that would be a cool thing to do. So I just tried to do that, and then it was only up until I was like maybe 17 or 18 that I found out you could get like paid to do it. But because I was always a fan of stand-up comedy and just comedy shows just in general. And it was around 18 when I realized, okay, I want to absolutely do something in the entertainment field. And then I just became basically a stand-up comedy nerd, watching, just absorbing as much information that I could at the time. And then when I turned about 19, that's when I drove with my mom from Connecticut all the way to LA, and then now here I am. And that was 3 years ago. Well, now it's going to be 4 in April, but well, I mean, it's going to be 4 years on the 6th actually of this month. So about 4 years ago, in April 6th is when I moved here, and then 4 years ago, April 11th, when I started stand-up comedy. So, yeah, that's just what got me into it. I was always a fan of it, and I always thought it was this beautiful art. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've only gone to a handful of stand-up shows, but I've never not had fun at one. I've always enjoyed it. I just like the environment. I like that people are much more laid back there. I feel like often, people want to come there and just have just, I mean, it sounds like stating the obvious, but just how often do you have people just get together and just sit down and just enjoy a laugh?
Yeah.
It's really a great thing. I know. So I do. So I want to ask, who are some of your favorite comedians? Like, who are some of your biggest ones?
Right now, most recently be Giannis Pappas. For those of you that haven't seen or heard of it, definitely check out the Giannis Pappas Hour. It's a podcast. Fucking a hilarious stand-up comedian from. He's a New York comedian. Him, Giannis Pappas, Tim Dillon, the usual goats, which is Chappelle and Burr. But like I like going over like the newer ones now. So like the newer ones would be like Louis C.K. like because I just sort of, much like Mission Impossible, I started to like him in his later work. And then even newer Burt Kreischer. Surprisingly, I always brushed him off. I was like some crazy dude with a shirt off, and then like I just recently was like, let me just watch his newest special, Razzle Dazzle. Absolutely hilarious. And then I just started kind of consecutively going back, and I'm like, oh, okay, this guy is actually very, very funny, and he's been doing it for a very long time. So, and it also speaks to the sort of the new age we're in now, where people just kind of want to laugh and they don't really want to indulge in the argumentative, socio-political forms of entertainment anymore. So, yeah, just that, and then I'm probably forgetting others, but so far now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that I think a lot of people they really do just want to sit down and laugh. And it's like it's okay as if you don't agree with everything a comedian says on stage too, as well as you just laugh at their jokes, right? Or just enjoy them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think and that's the truth and entertainment too, right? You can just people want as crazy as it sounds to be entertained by entertainment. That's really you know if you do that, you're doing your job. And I appreciate. I had never. It's funny because we met at a bar, but like I had never seen your stand-ups. I still haven't in person, but like I was watching your stuff, and there's some great stuff going on. And did you have any clips that in particular went viral that you didn't expect to? Or
Yeah, my Kyle Rittenhouse one. I genuinely did not expect that to go viral just because it, relatively speaking, happened a while ago.
Yeah.
The incident. But
right.
yeah, when that went viral and I got like over 1,000, 2,000 followers in like the span of a week, I did not expect that to go viral. This was just a small kind of throwaway joke. I was like, let me burn this one. And then, I just got I got so much attention. I was not expecting that to go viral. I also didn't expect my pronouns joke to go viral either, because that was also a riff. Like that wasn't really like written. Like I didn't write, like I was writing it and I wrote it. It was like a throwaway line. Like I was just kind of trying to find a way around to tackle such a topic as pronouns. And then like in the middle of a comedy show, I was like, I was asking a question just because I was so deep in the pocket of enjoying myself and enjoying the crowd. So I was not expecting that to go viral either. So
that's really cool. Yeah, I've started doing and I got to do it more, but going through, because you have to go through like hours of material just to find like a funny moment, and then you have to make it fit a cell phone, which I guess for stand up, I mean, you're just kind of standing like that, so I assume it's easier. But it's always about that, and you never know what's going to go viral. I did rewatch your Kyle Rittenhouse clip because I had seen it. First of all, I feel like I should send that. I had a very famous Punisher writer on my show who I feel like would probably really enjoy that joke. Actually, I should send that to him because, for those that don't know, I mean, you guys should all watch the clip. His stuff should be in my bio. Josh's stuff is not my bio, the description of this video / stream. But like basically, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like you were like Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't know. Is it weird to ask a comedian to like retell a joke? I don't know. Probably, right?
I'm actually trying to figure that out.
Well, anyway, whatever. It's just funny, but
because I genuinely, because like usually we get like, oh, tell me a joke, but
joke.
Retell the joke. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I usually don't.
Yeah, don't worry about. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But
because I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I know. There's like that's always the thing, right? It's, oh, you're funny. Tell me a joke.
Right, but
you're a singer.
It's never. Can you retell that joke? That usually it's not specifically. I know what joke you told that I enjoy. Can you retell? But yeah, usually, but yeah, it was one of those where they were like, oh, he's a white supremacist, but he shot 2 white people. I was like, are you sure he's not the Punisher? So that was the joke. So that was the joke.
Yeah, no, that was that's great. So I do wonder, do you have a lot of? I remember there was when I was in a comedy club, people were like making jokes that I was laughing at, but like a lot of people weren't to begin with, and they were like, "Oh, this is what happens in LA comedy clubs, isn't it?" Have you experienced that?
Like experience what? Like people
almost like afraid to laugh at certain
all the
jokes?
Time. No, not even. And furthermore, not even just afraid to laugh. Like every time a comedian will go on stage, who's not black, and they make a black joke, and I'm in the audience, they all look at me or the other black people to see.
So like approval.
Literally, I'm not kidding at all. God. Like this happens the majority of comedy clubs and shows that I've been at, and they look at me, and I'm like, don't look for me for approval because I'm gonna get on stage and say something way worse. So don't. So it's just like that all the time. Yes, they look for the nearest minority for approval because they're people to cheat, especially in Los Angeles. So
it's so. Do you like? So obviously, I imagine you just find that stuff just really annoying. Like
it's more sad than it is annoying now. I mean, it was annoying when I first started, but it's actually very sad because you're like, all right, you people are dumb. So there's a reason.
Yeah,
there's a reason you guys don't read.
I feel like it's almost like more condescending too. Like I can't imagine like waiting to get approval from my insert friends to laugh at insert joke. Like what? Like they're
Yeah,
just my friend. Like what do you?
yeah,
I don't
it
know.
was
Like
genuinely.
it seems almost like worse to like more messed up to treat them that differently. You know, where it's like you have to. It's almost like you have to sign a slip to laugh at the joke. It's like you need.
Yeah, it's more
So
so. I mean, and even then, like just like a couple layers deeper than that, it's just like it's it's shocking the amount of people that don't or can't think for themselves.
yeah, it
So
really is. It's like laughing too is often instinctual too. You just like
it's
it's you know
involuntary. Most
it's
of the time, the funniest ones where it's involuntary, where you're like, I didn't expect that. That I'm just gonna laugh, and then that's when they like cover their mouths or they like shake their head, which is my favorite types of laughs. So
yeah, I see that. It's weird. I mean, but I do you overall like living in LA?
yes and no. It's like a slightly sunnier Gotham City.
Mm. That's a pretty good description of LA. I was shocked by the amount of homeless people when I was there.
Yeah, there's tons of Batmans walking around.
None
So
of them
yes,
are as productive.
none of them are as productive. All of them are on drugs.
Yeah.
They are as angry as Christian Bale was that one day. But
Oh, that clip is insane.
fucking hilarious. Did you see the one where I was gonna do this and I was so upset because the internet is so fast. The internet is so fast. They took Christian Bale going crazy and they took Tom Cruise going crazy on set and they blended the audios together so it sounded like they were going back and forth and it like
That sounds amazing. I'm gonna
it
have to look that up.
legitimately was very funny. He was like, I don't ever want to see it again. And then Christian Bale was like, you're unbelievable, man. Like it was just so I
That's
recommend people listen to
ridiculous.
that. But yeah, it was but yeah, I like LA. It's sunny and beautiful today, but you know, I just wish the people were better. I actually said that too, because I went to Nashville recently. I was like, it'd be great if we took all the people from Nashville, if we just swapped populations. If all
Is
the people from
Nashville
Nashville
great?
came over here and all the people here just went over there, that would be great.
I'd love to, because I haven't gone to Nashville yet, but that's honestly, even though I haven't been there yet, that seems like a good place to consider moving to. Honestly,
Go to
like,
Nashville, trust
you
me.
think I should?
It is. I went to Nashville to film something. It was. I had a lot of fun. The people there are very grounded. Surprisingly, like the lack of camera phone. Like there's no. I mean, I did spend like 2 to 3 days there, so I didn't get like necessarily the entire Nashville experience. I did go to downtown Nashville. There didn't seem to be a lot of people filming themselves or other people. It was just people there in the moment. And there's like live music. The amount of live music would shock you that's on every single corner and at every single business. Like you'll walk down the street in downtown Nashville, and then in the window of like a bar, you'll see on one level a band playing, and then directly above it is another band playing another song. Surprisingly, and the acoustics don't ever like mess with each other. You can completely hear what's going
Wow.
on if you go into the. It's. I recommend everyone just take a chance, go to Nashville, because when I heard about the shooting and then I heard about the officers that stopped it, I was like, oh yeah, it was Nashville. So it made perfect sense why the response time was so, and why they were so keen. I was like, oh, I've been to Nashville. I was like, these people are very nice. They're very nice people over there.
Yeah, I actually still haven't seen the clip because that news kind of broke right before I saw parts of it, like where I did see like a clip on Twitter, but I was like, I'm gonna make sure I see it in its entirety, where they just rush it. I mean, it's it's insane, but it's like the response time, man. It's like almost like when they do their job, good things happen. And bad things happen. I mean, it's still awful. Anyway. We're gonna get off that, but it's the Nashville. I really got to check that city out. I hear it's a great city. I hear there's like more entertainment coming to Nashville too, which I'm hoping that it doesn't turn into Hollywood. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate Hollywood like as much. Like actually, a lot of stuff I really like. I like that. You know what I loved about LA is one thing I liked is I could walk around with my nerdy T-shirt, and there would be people like, "Oh, I love that artist. I love X-Men. I love You don't get. I've never gotten that in any other city. New York, no one even notices who you are. I've never had that kind of reaction to just being even. I wasn't even like super. It was just like a black T-shirt with like a character on it, and getting that kind of reaction is great in LA. So I do like that. But I mean, I'd love to try out Nashville.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's the people are very nice. The women are very nice. It's a different type of like all the Southern women there are definitely surprisingly white material, because you hear a lot about like Western women not being it, and it's like to a degree depends on where you go,
Mhm.
especially not in New York or LA. But if you go to Nashville, where it's like they all know how to cook, and
Oh,
they'd all know how to fry chicken and how to like saute onions and shit. And I don't, because I don't cook, I don't know it.
oh, I don't
But
cook
they,
either.
yeah, they all know exactly what they're doing over there. And there's like a boot factory. There's like a boot store at every corner in Nashville. Everyone has a gun. Everyone is a fuck around and find out type of person, which I enjoy. And
Mm.
the women there like are very homely. So
I really all right. Sounds like Nashville is a good place for me to check out. What were you filming down there? Because I'm,
I can't.
oh, you
I
can't say.
signed like a yeah. I
That's
signed.
good.
I
Well,
can't.
that's good sign that it's like it's something professional. So
But
you
yeah,
haven't been
it was good.
blacklisted from the film industry yet?
No, no, thankfully no.
Okay, so there's hope then. That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. I mean, look. Here's the thing. There's no way that like the entire. I think Stallone said something recently. Actually, didn't he? I think I heard
About
something
what?
like that where he's like, I don't want any of this nonsense on my set. We're just making movies. I don't know. I forget.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I don't know if he said. I didn't hear about him saying this at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely, I agree. It depends a lot. Not every production is the same here in LA, but I do value the ones that are like very lax about everything. So
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I can't wait to check out Nashville then. I'll have to because often like now I work conventions, so I'll have to see if there's one in Nashville that's worth going to. But so okay, so yeah, it's what you're doing. But so that's one. Do you have any favorite outside of Nashville favorite places that you've toured doing stand up? Or any have you ever been heckled?
yeah, be on the lookout for that clip. For the first time, actually, maybe a month ago, I'd say maybe like February, something like that. Yeah, for the first time, I was actually legitimately heckled by a woman.
It's
And she
always
booed me. It is no, usually it's always like a woman. It's always like a what's it called? I want to say it's always usually a self-centered woman or a drunk dude.
Hmm.
It's like the same types of people at every other comedy show. Every other comedian will tell you this. It's usually a woman, and it's usually like a drunk dude that's just like, you know. But they both of them think that they are the center of attention. But yeah, I have been heckled like once, like in total maybe twice or three times, but officially the first time. And I'm going to be dropping that stand-up clip maybe this week or next week. We'll see. Because it's like a big clip. But yeah, I was a joke I was doing, and then like this woman booed me, and then I had no idea that she was also heckling all the comedians that came before me,
Oh.
which I didn't know because I was in a certain section of the room where I couldn't hear the heckler. I just kind of heard the comedian. And when I got on stage, I did my joke, and then she heckled me, and she didn't like the specific joke that I was doing. And then I ethered her, and then I got like this giant roar of applause from the audience. So it was a very phenomenal experience. So I recommend that.
But at one point, do the people just say like, tell these people to shut the fuck up?
Well,
I guess they leave it
sometimes,
up
but
to you guys, right?
yes, I was gonna say like uh, people who don't do comedy wouldn't know this, but whenever there's a heckler in the audience and that keeps doing it to every comedian, what happens is that the entire audience waits for the next or whatever comedian to address that heckler before they can do the show, because they feel as they just want the comedian to kind of go after the heckler in the best, funniest way possible. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to enjoy the show. So that's essentially what happens every time a heckler, because it's essentially like they're taking control of the room inadvertently, and you have to sort of take the power back. So whenever there's a heckler and no one addresses it, the entire audience doesn't enjoy the show. So that was sort of what, not to like pat myself on the back, but that's essentially what happened. So but I didn't know that she was doing that to everyone. So
That's awesome. Do you have like, is there almost like, I don't want to say like training, but is there almost like a thing with that where it's like they teach you how to deal with hecklers? Like, did you go to school for stand up comedy or?
no, but you can go to school and you can pay people to take You can go to school and you can take like classes and there's like courses and shit. But no, I didn't. I'm more of like a oh shit, that's crazy.
What? What?
I can only hear you in one ear now because one of them died, but that's hilarious.
Okay.
But anyway, um, I'm gonna get the headphones in a second, but uh, yeah, you can take a course, and I didn't. I'm like old school. I just learned as I go along. But now there are open mics that are geared in shows geared towards doing that, like because it is a muscle to be able to handle a heckler and still be present and still go into your set. So right now there are one show in particular that I can think of as a show called it's hosted by Brandon Bricks. Um, I forget the name of the show, but it is essentially a heckle show where every time where the comedian goes up, and it's the audience's job to heckle you so that they can handle you. So that's
Mm.
I'm happy because that's very necessary. You kind of need to know. Eventually, you need to know how to handle yourself in situations like that. So, yeah, that's in and of itself kind of like a course or like a class, if you will. But yeah,
That's. Oh yeah. Take your time.
okay, okay.
Yeah. Just take a moment and. See, it's working. Give it a second. Yes, just give it a second, guys. He's just connecting new headphones. You're muted. You gotta unmute yourself. Hit the. I could do it for you if you want. All right,
I
there you
unmuted
go.
myself, but I need to be able to hear you, and that's
Oh, okay.
and then. What do you mean you're searching? It's right here.
All right, there you go. I got you. All right. Yeah, the connection went a bit, but it seems like it's back now, which is good. So, okay. Yeah, so that's interesting then. I mean, LA. So was that in LA, that heckler?
Wait, what?
Was the heckler in LA?
Yes, this all happened in Los Angeles.
Not surprising. Not surprising.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's just
So who are your favorite? Who are the general? And I don't know if comedians are like in general have favorites or if it just depends on the individual. But like, what are the favorite? At least your favorite places to go and least favorite places to go and tell jokes? Because like, who has a better sense of humor?
Bakersfield.
Bakersfield.
Right now, at least because it's a Republican town up there, and they were just very, very easygoing, and so much so that
Hold on, I'm sorry. Your mic is kind of. I can't hear you fully.
shit.
Let me.
No, hold on one second.
Your mic settings. You might be able to just change it if you go into the your settings. You can make sure that it goes to the right microphone for you.
How's that?
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, fantastic. So, all right, great. So now I can hear you perfectly fine. All right. So the point that I was making is that yeah, Bakersfield, an audience member after the show literally paid me $20, even though he didn't have to do that. So,
Wow. Bakersfield is where?
2 hours outside of out of LA. So it's like north. So yeah, that's where Bakersfield is.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if I've even heard of it, but that sounds like fun then.
It's basically a red town.
Oh, that's cool. So, all right, so, and these people had like a good sense of humor then, and they just
Absolutely, wow. Like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, it was a very welcome surprise.
Someone asked, has he visited the exact location of the EDP cupcake sting in Bakersfield? I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
this was like a one and done.
All right. So I don't know how familiar you are, but there's this guy who's a big YouTuber, and then he got caught going to visit who he thought was an underage girl for a cupcake in Bakersfield. So that's it happens so often, way too often. People finding out people are pedos. It's really weird.
Yeah, no, I have not been to the sting. No, I didn't know. No. But yeah, I mean, if you've been to Bakersfield, you should have known that was obviously a sting operation. There's like no underage girls in Bakersfield. They're all like 20 and up and own guns and shit.
No, that's cool.
They spawn as adults in Bakersfield.
Oh, and they spawn as adults, like in GTA, how like there's no children in the city because
there's no children and there's no other dogs other than the dog that you have in Grand Theft Auto too. So yeah, it's just like that in Bakersfield.
There are some because you could like the police dogs and the occasional one
in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
I must have not played
because you're a massive piece of shit. If you feel like a massive piece of shit if you have to kill, like sometimes the gun automatically goes to the dog. And you're like, no. And it's too late.
I had no idea that they had like other dogs in GTA because
they do.
It might have been a part of like an update or something.
Yeah, I've like let them kill me because I'm like I'm not.
Yeah.
I can't.
Sometimes I mean, I have a completely different experience when I play like Call of Duty and the K9 unit gets called on me. I knife the fuck out of those dogs.
Oh, those dogs, yeah. Oh yeah.
It's scary when you're in first person.
And they make you like snap the dog's neck.
That's another thing. I must have just not played video games in a while because I didn't know that you can do that in Call of Duty.
Oh yeah.
Snap a dog. I just knife them. You just press the knife button.
Yeah,
The DualShock 3.
Oh yeah, dude. Those are fun games. So did you ever play? So you played video games growing up, then?
Yeah. Oh, tons. Like, well, not tons, but like the same types of video games, which is like the first-person shooter, and then multiplayer for quite a while. And I would just like eat grapes and listen to podcasts while I played it.
Oh, what kind of podcasts do you listen to then? Or would you listen to?
Mean Boys. I mean. Okay, so Mean Boy. Oh, it was like just Mean Boys. That was the Mean Boys. It's like it's a sense they stopped doing the podcast years ago, but yeah, it was mainly the Mean Boys podcast and just like other funny YouTube videos that would just go on in the background. So
yeah, that's a great one. Listening to stuff while you play like a mindless shooter, I always thought was a good use of time. I thought it was a lot of fun. The zombies, especially, you can just be so mindless while listening to podcasts and stuff. I do that a lot.
I only played zombies when I was with other people over the mic. I never played it by myself because I was just like, this is just.
It's a fun one. Yeah, playing with other people's fun too. But so, what are I know you talk about movies. Wait, so you mentioned film stuff. Did you do some acting, right? And writing? Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, I'm an actor as well. Yeah.
So what got you into? Did you get into acting through comedy then, or
no? I was always I always did everything, even when I was younger, like write my own stories and try and act as well, and also basically like cosplay without even realizing it was cosplay. So, and I did act in one high school play as well. So, and when I was 18. I would travel back and forth from Connecticut to New York to do background acting gigs. So I was always into acting, at the same time I got into comedy as well. So I always, a jack of all trades, wore different hats. So
that's cool. That's a lot. That's sounds like a lot of fun. I've always been into acting too. It's weird. It's like I always list that as like my third thing because I'm a writer as well. Do you write screenplays or what do you like to write?
Everything. Jokes, screenplays, sometimes, not poems or anything like that. I do sort of, I guess, classify myself as like a modern day Shakespeare, whereas instead of, poems, opera, and musicals, I write jokes, scripts, and TV shows, movies, and jokes. So, I'm working on specifically a screenplay as we speak, but yeah, other than that, because I just started. So, but yeah.
Good stuff. Let's be on the lookout for that. Yeah, I still work in film and stuff too. I love writing, man. I think that's my favorite, thing. Just you really get to just put all that out there. That's you know, and acting it out is great too, or telling it, you know. I mean, I'm sure that I'm sure you had have a lot of fun with writing comedy and stand-ups. Do you have to
At times, yeah.
Is it do you ever just like beat yourself up like this is not funny at all, or is this
I
or is
used to, but now that I used to, and now that I recognize that it's all a part of the game, and I've sort of entered this new phase of spiritual enlightenment, it no longer bothers me.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, when you're at this point, it's like when a basketball player misses a shot. It's like, all right, my value doesn't decrease, and I know that if I keep at it, I'll get the results that I want. But it's more so now about enjoying the process than it is trying to be attached to this outcome of what you think victory looks like or is going to feel like. So
That's really cool. I like hearing about people's just kind of creative process in regards to, I don't know, all of that. And I am curious is there like because obviously screenwriting has a very specific formula, but like when it comes to writing jokes, like how is there a formula for that? Is there a format, or like how exactly you just go, this will be funny, like bullet points? Like how does it?
the most tangible formula, if you want to call it that, I guess, is writing or maybe talking to myself or something like that. But it's always best to go with what you genuinely think is funny. So if I like write something and I genuinely like laugh out loud, and it's something that I would like to hear, or something that I would think is funny if someone else potentially did it, or I take the position of the observer watching me go up, that's what I usually go. That's the intuition that I have, and that's the heart that I follow. So yeah, that's mainly what it is because if you ask like any comedian, they're not going to really be able to tell you. Like, I don't really have. Every comedian would be like, well, I don't necessarily have a process, but I think that a general rule is to go with what we genuinely think is funny.
Yeah. So it's pretty simple then. It's just, you know.
No. I wouldn't say simple. No. It's
Okay.
It's an excruciating process that took years and years to get to this point. I wouldn't. You're not gonna get the same response from a comedian who's been doing it for like 2 years.
Right.
But yes, it's one of those situations where it's like the more you do it, the more simpler it gets, and the more you're like, well, why wasn't it this easy when I started? But it's the experience that also feeds into it, where you're like, all right,
gotcha. Okay, so I mean, you know, that's interesting. And I noticed like comedians, you know, there really is, the more you listen to it, like this kind of craft where it's like you have to segue this into this. But then there's also the occasional where it's just a pause and then it's just something completely unrelated. Like I remember Bill Burr had one where it's like he goes off and then he just stops and goes, you know, I'm sick of Obama's wife. Like nothing to do with like that. But even then, that in itself is funny. It's just,
yeah,
I love seeing comedians do their thing. It really is great. And then one of the things, I mean, again, even just you mentioning reacting to mentally ill people on TikTok, you know, I mean, these people, they put themselves, they really, they present to you like this wealth of just horrible stuff. And honestly, just by even doing your genuine reaction to it, I find you can get some of their funniest material, because it's just like, you almost don't even need to prep for some of this stuff. It's so ridiculous. Some of you know, it's almost like, you know how like people go to a circus to look at like freaks. It's like now you just need to go and open TikTok.
Yeah, mainly. No, seriously, there is no, you know, I mean, Bill Burr had it and said it in a special, and I kind of kicked myself because I was like, oh, I had like a joke similar to that, or like I had like an idea, because he's absolutely right, where he was like, back in the day, if you were like as crazy as people are acting right now, there would be like basically bodybuilders in scrubs that would just come out of a van and just put you in a straitjacket and just take you away. That doesn't really happen anymore, but like in the 60s and 50s and like 70s, that would happen all the time. If you were just acting crazy, these for some reason always bought tall bodybuilders of all races would just, we had a very all-inclusive mental institution enforcement.
It's very
like we had a very, very all-inclusive mental institution, like enforcement task force, that would just kind of come out and then just like kind of grab you and just take you into the hospital kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
Sadly, we don't have that anymore. But He's absolutely correct.
Yeah, we're seeing the the consequences of that, I guess. Just like
Yeah.
And now we have these people, that are kind of like celebrities and being like, no, you're totally sane. It's like, are you? It's crazy.
No, the bar has been set so low.
Oh, so low. Do you when it comes to like jokes, like is there ever a point where like you have to restructure, reword your joke, or like what's the extent of like stealing jokes, and like what's the difference between stealing and just laughing at something in a similar way? Because obviously a lot of comedians, you can't just have one comedian talk about insert subject. How do you find that balance?
Wait, what was the first?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I might have worded that badly, but I'm wondering like how do you balance out between like stealing a joke, or do you ever just you can't joke on something or say something because someone else said it? Like how do you balance that out as a comedian?
No, there is no. I mean, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing new under the sun. Recently, I was accused of stealing jokes, which I didn't, from a fellow comedian at the time, and I can sit here because I'm blessed enough to have been a comedy nerd before I started comedy. I can sit here and point to a multitude of instances where comedians who may have never met or may have never seen each other go up have similar jokes or similar setups or similar punches. And to the untrained eye, you would think that they stole it, but it's just in actuality, because they're actually similar comedians in that they have the same opinions on certain topics and they have the same style, or they're the same type of comedian, which is offensive or goofy or et cetera, et cetera. They're going to have a lot of similar jokes and they're going to have a similar viewpoint about a subject. And there are people out there who, because they're insecure or because they don't think that they're going to make it in stand-up comedy, they get very, very sensitive about their jokes. So anytime they see a comedian go up and that has like a similar joke, I'm not saying that people don't steal jokes. That absolutely does happen. Absolutely. It's just that it is a fine line to walk, because it's either you don't think that you're good enough and you don't think that you're funny at all, which is why you automatically think that someone who has like a similar joke to you, not knowing that, okay, well, you're both offensive comedians and you both are conservatives off stage, that you're going to have similar jokes.
Mm-hmm.
So you may think that your jokes have been stolen, but in actuality, that's just simply not the case. It's just, and then at times like that, you got to take into account comedians who've been doing it longer have sort of already covered this. Like Anthony Jeselnik has a quote where he's like, him and Nikki Glazer at one point had, without even realizing it, kind of the same joke. And he said it on a podcast. He was like, if you and a comedian have the same joke or too similar of a joke, then it's probably not a good joke. And then that just becomes on the comedian themselves to just come up with a funnier joke, or to just, you have to be so different, or you have to come up with something where it's just like, oh, no one else could think of this. No one else could say it this way, which is what makes the joke unique in and of itself. So it's not that you can't talk about the same. It's not that you're not allowed to talk about the same exact things. It's just that how you approach it has to be so unique, because if it's similar, people are either going to think you stole it, or you just don't become a better comedian because you sound like everybody else. So.
Okay, I get that. Yeah, that's interesting. It's a lot of it is similar, even in terms of just the writing. The idea that every story under the sun has been told, and it's kind of like finding a new way to.
There's absolutely nothing new under the sun. I mean, Dave Chappelle, Gerard Carmichael, and Andrew Schultz all have basically the same joke about the kids who are touched by Michael Jackson, if they were, is actually a flex in and of itself. Like they all have the same spin on that topic, and they're like years and years apart. Where like Gerard Carmichael in, I believe, 2014 Love at the Store had that joke where he's like, it's almost where like the kids who were touched by him went to school the next day and were like, hey, what'd you guys do over the weekend? And then they were like, oh, the King of Pop sucked my dick. Literally the same exact Dave Chappelle. And then years later, Dave Chappelle does Sticks and Stones in like 2019 or 2020. I forgot when that special came out, but it was it was like 2019 or 2020 or something like that. Same exact type of joke, but it's not like they stole from each other. It's just that they're both they're both comedians who push the envelope and
Right.
spin an offensive or somewhat sensitive topic in the same way. And then Andrew Schultz, who's also a comedian who I love, he had the same joke, typically this similar joke, but he brought it to Michael Jordan. So instead of saying that, oh, those kids were flexing that day, he goes, if Michael Jordan fondled my asshole, it would then be a legendary asshole, something like that. Similar to the, so it's not like these comedians, I'm not going to sit here and say that they stole from each other. I just know that, because I know that that's just something not true. It's just that all these comedians are offensive comedians. So they're going to have the similar, so, you know, I'm a bit triggered because someone did genuinely accuse me of stealing jokes. Yeah. It's like you don't get it. But go ahead.
No, totally. I mean, I also can't imagine you. It's like you can't. It's like saying this. People say that kind of stuff too. Like, oh, these movies are basically the same, and they'll find like the vaguest similarities in the plot where it's like, okay. Or like there's one stand-up clip that went viral that I personally thought was really, no disrespect to this person, but I thought was really stupid. It's like, Harry Potter is just Star Wars and then he basically just brings up the hero's journey, and I'm like, do you realize how many things that applies to that you could use that for? Like, oh, this person had a master that trained them. Okay, what story doesn't have a master of some kind?
Yeah,
Rocky had
literally.
Is Rocky a
Enter the Dragon?
Like, are you gonna? This is main protagonist is a boy in high school. Okay, lock him up. Like.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're into that, there is a YouTube channel called, I believe, Couch Tomato or something like that, where they actually accurately do it the right way, where they have specifically two movies side by side, and they actually go over intricately how they are the same movie, and they actually do make a good case for it. But in the situation where you're talking about, you're kind of just like talking out of your ass. But I recommend everyone go watch, like, I believe that's the YouTube channel. And in particular, they go over how I believe Terminator and X-Men Days of Futures Past are the same movie. We go over it where they're like, one goes back in time to stop and it's like a younger version of himself. And it's like he was the one, which is why this whole thing started in the first place. I recommend everyone go watch it.
Well, did they mention that Days of Future Past came out before Terminator?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay, because
as a comic book, but
because the comic came out before.
Movie.
Yeah, right. But I'm saying the movie, I would argue, because the movie is based on the comic book, that it's the other way around. That Terminator took from Days of Future Past.
Something like exactly, and then that's when they go in the video talk about like how all time travel movies essentially are the same movie, and he goes into it like in just like one clever line where he goes, the problem with time travel is that the event that you're trying to prevent is the event that you helped cause by time traveling in the first place.
Yeah.
So basically all time travel movies are essentially the same movie. It's like, it's me, but younger or older.
But it's the way you do it, right, is what makes it different.
Yes, exactly.
And that's,
same
I guess,
with jokes.
Yeah, same thing with jokes. Okay, so I do want to just quickly ask, have you ever had a comedy show be like, this guy's too offensive, or hey, we can't have you here?
Absolutely. Well, really? Okay. Well, not me personally. Like, I've seen people do that in audiences before and stuff like that too, and like even bookers or comedians who are on the show. But me, like, I'm just like, just let it fly. If your intentions are pure, like if you want to go on stage and you want to just offend people, you're going to do that. Or if you genuinely try to find the most offensive thing and try to make it funny, then that's your intent. You being booed off stage or people telling you that you need to leave, I'm not going to be the one doing that, but people telling you to leave, that's also part of it. But yeah, I've seen people, I personally have never done that before.
You personally never had?
That's too offensive for me, because I'm like, I don't easily get offended by like.
But what I'm wondering is, have you ever had people like not accept you because they're like into a comedy club or something, or not?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, best perfect example, comedy show I did a week ago or two. It was so funny. I was going to talk about this on my podcast, but here is as good a time as any. We were talking about, it was a comedy show that I was doing, and it was a variety comedy show, and it was booked by a leftist woman, and they had drag at the show, and they had like dancing half naked cheerleaders and shit. And a couple of days before the gig, I posted a Instagram post by a conservative woman, and it was so funny because it was so accurate. And the post read, "If there's any patriarchy in this day and age, it's a dude in a dress telling us all what a woman actually is," which is absolutely correct, and it's absolutely hilarious no matter what side you're on, because that's absolutely correct. It's like if there is a patriarchy today, it's a dude in a dress telling us this is what a woman actually is. So I reposted that, and then the booker for that gig was like, "Hey, so this show is going to be like an all-inclusive LGBTQ show that's going to feature drag. Is your material compatible with that?" And I was like, "Of course." Yada yada yada. And so that happened, and then like right after the show, like I had to fight the urge to be like, okay, so all trannies are mentally ill, just like as a joke on Instagram. But like
Jesus
but like
Christ.
yeah, I've had not even whether if I believe it or not, I just wanted to do it just because like
Just
I
'cause
had
it's
to
funny.
kind of like, it's funny, and I had to kind of like, you know, keep that side of myself suppressed just so I could do the gig, because I'm like, I just want to get the video to film myself just to put it out later. That's all I really give a fuck about. I don't care about the show or these leftists. I don't care. But yes, I've had situations like that similar before where I've had to tone it down.
But they still let you in though.
Yeah, they did, because I had to kind of like not let them know that that's who they were booking at the time, because I'm like, I just wanted to go, because because I am filming. I'm filming all of my sets so I can then put it out on Instagram to build a following. So if I do have a moment where like I piss someone off in the crowd who's left or some shit like that, I'm like, hey, that's content, so fucking I'll put it out. But yeah, I have had similar situations where they're like, they don't really know about, but I'm good enough to where I can play to certain rooms. So
That's good. That's always good. I feel like, you don't, again, going back to the idea that you don't have to necessarily like everything the comedian is saying. If they're making you laugh, and they're able to, roll with the environment, that's a good sign, I feel like.
absolutely, but sadly, it's not all like that.
It's not all like that. That's
No.
unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. But I mean, hey, I like a little bit of a challenge, if we're gonna be honest. So I like
That's good. So everyone can make sure. So you'll probably tell that story again, I imagine, on your podcast coming up.
I will, because like the days leading up to the gig, I was like, there's so much shit going on with trans people right now I want to talk about. But I'm like, all right, we gotta keep it. We gotta keep it. Gotta stay booked on the show. And then the second I get off stage, did you see the trans shooter in Nashville? I did too. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man. Oh man, timing. That's wow.
Timing is so important, because she was like, yeah, hey, so like, are you gonna be like a, because this is literally what she wrote. She wrote, she was like, that's not the vibe of the show hold on. This is what she wrote specifically. She goes, okay, just want to make sure I didn't actually get to see your whole set last time, because I've done the show before and I didn't offend anyone. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do the show, and it's gonna be the same as last time, where I'm just gonna talk about myself and then maybe like a story about a gay friend that I have or something like that. And then she goes, okay, I just want to make sure I didn't actually get to see your whole set last time. There are also drag queens and a diverse crowd, so I want to make sure nothing is offensive or quote edgy in that way. Just not the vibe of the show I'm trying to run. I've done the show before. It's a degenerate, half-naked, Silver Lake, liberal leftist show. It wasn't that good of it. By the way, there was only one drag queen there. There was no
really.
There was
false
just one,
advertising.
False advertising, absolutely. It was just one drag queen there, and they were chill. It was a dude in a dress with blonde. He was chill.
Yeah,
we chopped it up. I was like, hey, how you doing? He's like, yeah, kind of sleepy. I'm like, yeah, me too. Yeah, it's cold out here. And he's like, yeah. All right, cool. So you're gonna be going up? And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna be like towards the end of the show. And I was like, all right, cool. All right, good luck. So that was it. No one got offended or anything like that. Because I mean, I didn't do offensive material or anything like that, because it wasn't really. I didn't really want to talk about that night. But yeah, it was pretty chill. So,
All right. Well, everyone, make sure to give Josh a follow on this podcast and check it out. I'm definitely going to be. I want to hear all the details of this story as it goes. You can find the link in the description of this specific podcast, right? It's in your link tree, right?
Yes.
All right. So
And on
keep
my
an eye-
Instagram.
And on his Instagram. And why don't you have Twitter? I'm just curious.
I got banned a while. Well, I mean, look at what's happening right now. It doesn't. I mean, when they came out, when Elon bought it, and then he goes, it is, and he posted that photo, and he was like, oh, Twitter was mainly ran by women. I was like, yeah, I know that. Like, I got banned a while ago because I was right on many, many things, and I just realized it's just not a valuable. It's a shit show of an app. It's just it mainly catered towards the left algorithmically. And I just didn't just look at the Twitter files. The FBI and the CIA were colluding to censor speech.
Yeah.
And I was like, Instagram is better for me as a comedian.
Yeah, as a comedian.
I don't have time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's addictive too. That's the thing about Twitter. I mostly use it to promote stuff, honestly. That's really what I do. But anyway, yeah, guys, make sure to follow Josh and all this stuff. Anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap things up?
No, that's just it. I mean, I invite everyone to be mindful of their critical voice.
All right, you heard that. Be mindful of your critical voices, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Keep an eye on my socials. Mine should be in the description as well, because I normally announce the next guest at the end of the show, but everything's been so hectic lately. And this Sunday is Easter, which is when I normally do the show. So we'll figure
the next
it
guest
out.
will be Alec Baldwin.
Jesus.
The next guest will be, he's going to demonstrate firearm safety for everyone. He was actually in the front lines of that Nashville shooting, so he was there actually, which is what. So be on the lookout for the next one. What's the name of the show again?
Vaughn Coleman presents.
Well, welcome. So this is Vaughn Coleman presents
Alec Baldwin.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
All right, see you guys next time. Bye.